I wish him all the best. I wish him all the best of luck in this new venture with his new promoter. But ironically, how is it that he was making a lot more money with me than what he was with other people? I just do not understand that type of business when he talks about me not being a good promoter. Because obviously we all know that all he's looking for is the money and not the fame.
And I believe that's why you said, you know, mark your words, that you get him back. It's because you was prepared to offer him the bank.
Of course. Because he's Canelo and he moves the needle and we know how to promote him. Look, I wish him all the best. I mean, he's a fighter that I admire, but just keep this in mind. I mean, you don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Oscar.
Wow. Those were the words of Oscar Dela Hoya in regards to Canelo Alvarez. And he was, at first, Dela Hoya was defending himself. Like, how can he not call me, you know, or call me a bad promoter? How can he call me that? And Dela Hoya's claim is, hey, he made the most money with us. Well, to counterpunch Oscar Dela Hoya right now, every factor ain't set on money, especially when you're making money. It's how the money is coming at you and how it's distributed, okay? In Dela Hoya's case, Dela Hoya made a backdoor deal with DAZN that stated that one of those fights, Canelo would fight Triple G without consulting Canelo about that. See, Canelo said that he really wasn't even interested in fighting Triple G for a third time. But you let Oscar De La Hoya tell it. That was the sole reason that they sold him, or they gave him. That was a huge factor in that huge deal for 10 fights, for 10 and 11 fights for $365 million. That was a huge part of that deal, that he would get, in fact, fight Triple G for the third time for the subscriptions, okay? Because a lot of time, that was one of the biggest fights that DAZN had on their platform at the time, were the two Canelo Triple G fights. So De La Hoya, along with DAZN, they had a backdoor deal without consulting Canelo. Sure, he got a shitload of money for the deal, but Canelo didn't know the 100% or the whole portion of what the deal consists of. Okay? He never agreed to fight Triple G for a third time. And all De La Hoya had to do is listen to his talent. Okay? Listen to his fighters. Because his fighters, ultimately, they call the shots. You know, this isn't the days of Don King and Bob Arum, so to speak. They don't have that mentality. Or that's not the case that the promoters really run and they're really milking the fighters from whatever money they can get out of the fighters based on who they fight or whatever. It's not like that anymore. And Canelo moved the ball, and he surely showed people that it's not. He got out of that deal with Golan. He got out of the promotional company because, as far as Canelo was understood, it was De La Hoya that did the backdoor deal. So necessarily DAZN is not at fault. It's De La Hoya was at fault because he should have consulted his fighter. So yeah, it seemed good. Like, yo, he's made more money than me than any other promoter. You know, and he said, you know, with his new promoter, he didn't want to say Eddie Hearn, but it's Eddie Hearn. Right? And I know that burns him because he brought this to the forefront of AK and Barack on that platform. You know, and they were talking about all this other shit. You know what I mean? Him coming back and him fighting Julio Cesar Chavez and him in his career and the things he did in his career. You know, he wanted to let it known that, hey, Canelo, he made more money with me. He's the one that moves, that gets the balls in motion and all the ball in motion and all that stuff. But at the end of it, you heard him say, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Let me counterpunch that right now. That's the mentality, people, that the promoters have had for the longest. Okay? That's the type of shit that Don King preached, Bob Arum preached, That mentality. And now Oscar Dela Hoya, he's thinking that Canelo owes him something or Canelo works for him. It doesn't work that way. Canelo showed him, no, I don't work for you, Dela Hoya. You work for me. And see, that's the difference between the mentality of Eddie Hearn versus Oscar Dela Hoya and all the other guys. They have this mindset that these fighters work for them. They are the reasons why these fighters are getting the money that they have because of their reputation and their name. That's partly based on it, but you have to have the talent that pushes anything. Okay, one hand washes the other, but that fighter can always self-promote himself. Okay, he didn't have to have a promotional company at the end of the day. He can fight. And if he can walk, he can talk, meaning he can fight. He can talk, meaning he can promote himself. He doesn't really need a promoter. Okay, so that is the reason why De La Hoya lost his fighter. He just showed us in that interview why he lost Canelo Alvarez, because he wasn't listening. He paid irregard to what Canelo really wanted and what Canelo said. See, he could have heard, hey, I'm not fighting Triple G. That means, okay, hey, I can't go and try to push this idea of fighting Triple G to the execs, because I know what De La Hoya did. Yo, yeah, sure, he'll fight. He'll fight Triple G. It's great. It's great for business. He did that without consulting Canelo, and Canelo was like, I don't want to fight this guy again. I'm done. They said I didn't fight him and beat him the first time. I fought him a totally different way. And in my mind, I beat him. I got the decision, so I beat him. Right? So there's no need to fight him a third time. But once Canelo found whim of De La Hoya doing that, okay, and that $8 million that Canelo had to fork over to another promotional company, right, due to him signing with Golden Boy, if you can't, I think it was it Universal? I believe it was. I can't remember the promotional company. I think that was Triple G's promotional company back in the day. Universal, but he had a Mexican promoter, and he had to pay that Mexican promoter $8 million. And that's when Canelo woke up and was like, yo, I had to pay $8 million on something that's supposed to have been, I thought I was clean and clear of. But obviously I wasn't. Signing with this guy, Golden Boy, signing with these guys, Golden Boy, I had to pay $8 million, and that's after which Richard Schaefer left. Okay, so De La Hoya really left it up to Canelo to pay that all by himself when they could have helped him, because they made a hell of a lot more than $8 million with Canelo Alvarez over the years. But nonetheless, he had to fork that out himself. So that's when Canelo started to wake up, okay? And all the other personal stuff I feel and I believe that Canelo dealt with, you know, or tolerated rather, with Oscar De La Hoya, with his problems and inner demons and stuff. I think he tolerated that. But once he found out on another strike, yo, this guy's going behind my back, that's what happened. And then for De La Hoya, again, to say the bite's the hand that feeds you, no. You don't get paid if the fighter doesn't get paid. Understand that. So you work for the fighter. You depend on the fighter at the end of the day. But see, the other promoter, Eddie Hearn, right? He doesn't have a mindset of these guys work for me. They owe me. They got to answer to me. I get things done. I do this. I do that. I. All that has to stop. That's why Eddie Hearn is working with Canelo now. That's why he's continuing to work with Canelo. Okay, as far as we know, right? But that's why Canelo went to someone like Eddie Hearn, because he don't have that mentality of, I'm a slave master, I'm a boss, you work for me. That's why. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Oscar De La Hoya blasting Canelo Alvarez. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch.